the guy that I mirror my hockey knowledge about in these types of things is Dick Irvin, who never played the game professionally. He obviously had a famous name and was involved in things, but Dick could stay relevant over decades and decades. He could stay relevant. And yet be able to weave in stories about Jean Beliveau and Maurice Rocket Richard and then Guy Lafleur. Because I do think there are times that we forget our history. And it's important to remind people of the history without hitting them over the head with it.
Right.
And that's why I asked the question, because that's a real challenge.
It is because I wonder, like, the kids are so disinterested in history
Yeah,
nowadays. Is you can't even wax about Mario Lemieux. Forget about Guy Lafleur.
right.
Like even Mario Lemieux is caveman. Where like when I was like I always say I would do Sports Center and someone would pass away, and I'm like I know who Ty Cobb was. You realize he played 1912. But I knew who he was. I knew his story. I knew Rogers Hornsby. I knew these names. And for baseball and going back to football, Bronco Nagurski, I knew who he was. And these people, we can't talk about, Brett Hall to a 20-year-old nowadays without, looking at it in a certain way. So it is interesting. I agree you keep up, you evolve or die. But again, the Rolling Stones never went to disco in the 70s. They never went new wave in the 80s. A part of it might have touched here or there, but for the most part, they were going to stay the Rolling Stones. And they're still touring in their 80s. So I still think you true to yourself matters. If you believe in history, you believe in storytelling, that matters. You can age well. Obviously, we have Hubie Brown doing NBA basketball into his 80s, Dick Vitale doing college basketball into his 80s. It's possible to walk that line of evolving enough, but respecting the past, trumpeting your enthusiasm and love for the game, which is the most important thing. If people see a love of the game you
Right.
have, then that'll translate to them.
All right. So let's talk about the game. Tomorrow night, Washington and Winnipeg are playing in Washington. If I had told
Yes.
you in October when they dropped the puck, by the way, the best two teams on February 1st were going to be the Winnipeg Jets and the Washington Capitals, you would have told me,
Yeah, probably not. I like them both going into the season. I like what Washington did in the offseason. I thought they were going into it. I think we had like a little round table panel the opening night. I was in Raleigh doing a game. There was a little pregame show. I think it was the point. And I said, I like what Washington did. They brought in adults like Mangiapane and they gave Dubois a chance. We'll see how it goes. Chikrin's they went out and they made a move for Chikrin. Even like that the Sanheim move a couple years ago, trading a one for an adult hockey player, not just drafting an 18-year-old and hoping in 6 years he could be a guy. There's enough there. I think that might be a guy, for us. They just seem to, I like how they built the hockey team there to sign. It's professional hockey. We're trying to win. We're trying to get better. Some point, obviously, there's a reboot. But I think the NHL got in love with the reboot too much, and a lot of teams are suffering because of it. And I kind of like, and obviously Winnipeg, same thing. They're trying to go on the fly. It's hard to get guys to come there as a free agent, but they've managed that thing really well. Obviously, Rick Bowness retires. What could that look like? But the bones were there for a good team. But certainly no, did not expect that to be one versus one. But again, two organizations with, I think, GMs who actually try to get good hockey players and try to stay good or be good.
When you look at Alexander Ovechkin, have you thought about what you would say if you called the goal?
That's a great question. I would tend to keep it very simple. 894. He's the new record holder and stop. It would be a very simple 1 and 2 sentence. I always say that those kinds of things I like to definitely less is more, fewer words. It's like when I write an obit on Sports Center. It's very simple. So and so died today. 7-time U.S. Open winner. Da 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 da. He was 85. Just very simple, declarative, short sentences.
mm,
So I think that's what I would do. I wouldn't try to create or write out some grandiose pun or anything like that. It's just boom. Here's it passed Ovechkin shot, score 895, a new record holder, something like very simple, and then stop. And that's all you
you'd
need.
have,
Like
you'd have to get a guy beside you to stop too.
exactly right. And most of them do. Most of them would get out. Usually, I grab their arm. I just say, yeah, I'll
Oh,
grab
you
their
do?
shoulder or grab. Yeah, I do. I'll grab their arm or shoulder and say, I'll say, wait. I'll just say, wait. And it's okay. This is now, no, not quite. go. Like, you know, because it's that perfect amount of time. It can be different. It can be 6 seconds sometimes. Sometimes it can be 11. But and if the director is getting great shots, I also, when the play stops, I go right to the monitor, and I like to follow the director. And a good director can follow me too, which I love. I love that symmetry, the teamwork between a great hockey director and I like to see what he's doing. And he'll follow me, but then when the play stops, and I follow him, and then you can really sense, okay, this is a great moment. Not yet. Let a little more, milk it a little more. But you don't have to go forever, because that's what people, you know, nowadays you'll see people say, "Oh, he did a great job not talking for 20 seconds." I mean, well, how hard is that? You know, oh yeah, thank you. It's like Bobby Jones said, you know, why'd you call that penalty on yourself in the middle of the woods? You know, nobody saw you. You know what I mean? Well, that's the rules. It doesn't matter if somebody saw me or not. That's the rules of the game. And so it would be short and simple, to answer your question. But yeah, that would be that's going to be. I know we've added a lot of their games end of this year. We had done that when the year started. ESPN kind of on hold all these Washington games just in case he gets close. And then I have a feeling we're going to be. I mean, if he gets within 8 and there's 4 games left, he could easily get 8 in 4 games. So you have to show those games. You know what I mean?